Could someone be detained by ICE, even if they're a U.S. citizen? It sounds unlikely, but recent events and new policy developments suggest it's a possibility worth understanding. As Congress moves forward with a sweeping $81 billion immigration bill, the spotlight is on enforcement, funding, and what happens when the system moves faster than it can verify. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the human side of this bill. Not just what's in it, but what could happen when enforcement outpaces oversight. Could a U.S. citizen be detained by mistake? A critical but often overlooked part of the newly proposed $81 billion immigration bill. What happens when immigration enforcement efforts encounter individuals who may be misidentified? While the bill includes major funding for ICE, courts, and enforcement operations, it's important to also consider how these changes might affect due process and legal protections, especially for people who are already U.S. citizens or lawful residents. A rejected amendment. The context. During the House Judiciary Committee review, an amendment was proposed that would have clearly stated ICE cannot use any of the bill's funds to arrest or deport U.S. citizens. That amendment was not adopted. To be clear, U.S. law already prohibits the detention or removal of American citizens. ICE also has a formal policy in place stating that if there's uncertainty about a person's citizenship status, agents must investigate and release the individual once verified. However, this event raised some discussion about whether more specific safeguards should have been included in legislation of this scale, particularly given the volume of enforcement activity it aims to support. Understanding enforcement errors. In rare cases, individuals who are in fact U.S. citizens have been mistakenly detained during immigration actions. These incidents are not frequent, but they do occur, often due to mistaken identity or outdated records. Immigration attorneys have documented cases where individuals were briefly detained while their citizenship status was being verified. In each case, the person was released once their documentation was confirmed. As enforcement activity increases, these edge cases may become more visible, and it's important that policies continue to evolve to address them. Who could be affected most? Based on current legal commentary, the individuals most at risk for misidentification or confusion during enforcement actions are typically people with complex immigration histories, U.S. citizens born abroad or with dual nationality, lawful permanent residents with prior legal issues, sponsors of individuals currently in immigration proceedings. Again, it's important to note that these situations are uncommon, but they highlight the importance of accurate documentation, legal representation, and case-by-case review. The case of Abrego Garcia. One case that has drawn public attention is that of Abrego Garcia, an individual who had previously been granted withholding of removal, a form of legal protection against deportation. Due to a procedural error, he was deported despite that protection. His legal team is currently working to resolve the matter, and his case has sparked broader conversations about oversight and procedural consistency. Cases like this show how important it is for immigration processes to remain precise, especially when dealing with individuals under legal protection. Sponsorship of unaccompanied minors. The bill also includes provisions regarding unaccompanied minors and their sponsors. Under the proposal, sponsors would be required to pay a $3,500 fee. Sponsors would be subject to background checks and verification. There may be penalties for failure to appear in related proceedings. The intent appears to be ensuring accountability and tracking within the sponsorship process. While this adds layers of review, it also introduces costs and procedures that families and sponsors should be aware of in advance. Court capacity and delays. The U.S. immigration court system currently manages a backlog of nearly 5 million cases. The bill includes $1 billion in funding to expand court operations, hire more personnel, and reduce processing times. However, experts note that recruiting qualified immigration judges and legal staff is not immediate. It typically takes several months, sometimes over a year, to fully onboard new court officers. Until that expansion takes effect, many cases will remain delayed, and backlogs are expected to continue in the short term. Work permit renewals, a notable change. One of the more operational aspects of the bill is a proposed change to work permits, EADs. EADs would be valid for 6 months instead of the current 1 to 2 years. Renewal would require a new application and fee twice per year. This could lead to administrative strain on USCIS. Individuals and employers may face added planning complexity. This change doesn't remove work eligibility, but it introduces a higher frequency of renewal, which may affect job continuity and application timelines. Due process and operational clarity. While the bill is centered on immigration enforcement and budget allocation, its practical impact will depend on how various agencies implement these changes, including ICE, USCIS, and EOTAR, immigration courts. Maintaining clarity, transparency, and fairness in how enforcement is carried out will be essential, particularly as funding increases and operational capacity expands. For individuals navigating the system, it's recommended to keep documentation up to date, monitor case statuses and hearing schedules closely, consult legal professionals if eligibility questions arise. Final thoughts. This bill represents a significant shift in funding and focus within U.S. immigration policy. While its goal is to enhance enforcement and reduce backlogs, it also introduces new procedures and potential complications for immigrants, families, and even U.S. citizens in mixed-status households. Staying informed, seeking guidance when needed, and maintaining clear legal records will be more important than ever as this bill moves forward. We'll continue to track developments and provide updates as this proposal progresses through the legislative process. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon for timely updates on U.S. immigration news and policies.